It's the final hour of the breakfast show, 7 minutes now past 9 o'clock. We're joined this morning by Fran from Walker Construction. Good morning, Fran.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. You're the Training and Administration Officer at Walker Construction, and we're here to talk about mental health, specifically in the workplace, aren't we?
Yes.
And more specifically, I guess, geared up towards men in particular, because they do play an important part in construction, although we are wanting to get more women, please, into construction, it has to be said. So why did Walker Construction decide to start this initiative?
So we decided to start the initiative because we had a look at the statistics around mental health and particularly around suicide. And what's really surprising and what's only really coming to the forefront of sort of public knowledge in the last couple of years is that 75% of suicides are committed by men, and that your risk of committing suicide goes up 3 times from the national average if you work in construction. So we have within our workforce the most at-risk people in society, and we weren't doing anything to support them.
I think for most of us, when you say that 75%, which, when you think about things on a percentage scale, is actually a very, very big percentage.
It's huge,
It's a huge percentage. Why in the construction industry particularly?
It could be any number of reasons. We don't, unfortunately, due to the nature of suicides, we don't always understand the intent and the rationale. It's thought that men in particular are at higher risk because of the sort of conditioning you get in society.
Is it because we keep our emotions in?
It is, yeah. Men are less likely to go to the doctor for a multitude of conditions aside from mental health problems. Particularly in construction, it can be to do with, long hours away from home, tough work outdoors. There's always a lot of time pressure to get the job done quickly. Sometimes the pay isn't as consistent or as high as you would hope. That's across the industry. So there's a lot of additional stresses and pressures, and when you've got this sort of macho culture, or you're expected to just get in there and get the job done, there's not much room for you to process stress or emotions or difficult things that are going on inside the workplace or at home.
I think you're right when you just hit the nail on the head there when you said macho culture.
Yeah.
It has had a macho culture for many years, construction, and there's that roughy, toughy, blokey kind of image that gets put across. And so I think, in a sense, for a man to sort of say to his colleagues, oh, listen, I'm feeling a bit depressed today, it's not the sort of thing they come out and say, is it?
No, it's not. Not at all. And I'm from personal experience and just from conversations we've had with some guys who work for us, you can feel these emotions for quite a long period of time, years even, and by the time you feel ready to say something, where do you even start? I've been feeling this way for a month, I've been feeling this way for a year. How do you even broach that issue? And you're not even sure the response of your colleagues and your friends is going to be positive. They might be frightened of it. There's such a stigma around mental health that
you might get ridiculed, you don't know, do you?
Exactly. It's not the same as it ought to be, but it's not the same as if you break your ankle and everyone goes, oh, you know what, you're not well. Feeling great at the moment. Let me help you out. When we hear the words mental illness, everyone panics and goes, oh, how do I talk to them? How do I approach them? Are they going to go mad at me?
But it has become a slightly softer issue.
Yeah.
With people like Prince Harry coming out and saying, listen, I've had mental problems too.
Yeah.
And if someone thinks, well, if Prince Harry can come out and say that, then there's hope for me to be able to mention the things I'm feeling inside.
Absolutely. People like Prince Harry, Prince William, I think, as well, has come out and spoken about those issues. And people like Stormzy, too. You've got people who you would never have expected, but are completely representative, because mental health can affect absolutely everyone and does affect anyone. So it's really great to see young, very influential people come out and say, actually, I felt like this, and it's completely okay to feel like this.
Now, you're coming in a year after Jeanette came in. Jeanette McLean, of course, who's the training manager at Walker Construction. She came in about a year ago and just touched on this issue, saying that, listen, this is something we're interested in doing. Walker Construction are going to be starting this initiative. Is it proving successful, do you think?
It is, I think so. What we started doing was we've introduced a free confidential counsellor who's independent from Walker Construction, and we've created an awareness campaign and posters all over our sites and our offices so that you can scan a QR code or you can save a number of our counsellor and arrange to meet her for free sessions outside of work. So you can arrange those for evenings, for your weekends, if you want to maintain that discretion. Obviously, we're working towards that point where everyone would hopefully openly talk about it, but that's not the reality at the moment. if you're feeling depressed or just really stressed out or any sort of emotion that's impacting your work, but you don't feel ready to talk about that with your manager or with your colleagues, it means that you can text this number and a counsellor will see you once a week for 8 weeks and talk through those issues. And all we ever get from the perspective of the company is we get a score. She assesses you at the start of your session and at the end of the sessions, and any recurring themes that come up. We never know anyone's name or what they brought up or who they were, what sites they came off, their age, anything. So all we ever see is there an improvement? And we've seen that there is. Everyone so far who's accessed the system has improved. By the end of it, their score has been reduced. And any recurring themes. So if 5 people access the counselling in 6 months and they all bring up working long hours away from home is really putting a strain on their relationships or on their own mental well-being, that's something as a company we know is an issue and we can fix.
As a company, I think it's just commendable that Walker Construction are doing this, and we support you every step of the way. But also, other construction companies across the UK are following this, aren't they?
They are, yeah. So we're quite proud that we're one of the first in the South East, and certainly the first to have this particular type of initiative. What was really promising was one of our site managers, Paul McLean, worked with me on creating a toolbox talk. So toolbox talks on site are normally little health and safety chats. The team sit in the site office and they go, right, this is a health and safety issue that's been brought up and this is how we approach it. I worked with him to create a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style quiz about mental illness and mental well-being. And it went down really well. It stimulated a really thought-provoking discussion. A lot of people picking answers, and then when the answer was real, they're, I didn't know it was that high, or I didn't know this. And our subcontractors, so the specialists we bring in, were really intrigued by the idea as well and wanted to know how they could get involved.
Because it's a very heavy subject, and if you can lighten it somehow, then that
exactly.
Helps,
and I think that game style of doing it was really helpful, because you had some people go, oh no, it's definitely B, or it might be A, and when the answer's revealed, everyone goes, oh, and they start talking to each other. And it's a really good way of getting people to have a discussion that they maybe didn't want to have or didn't know how to start. I
think in this day and age, in the very busy, hectic lifestyles we live, I think people are more prone, not just men, but women and right across the board, are prone to having mental problems. When I was growing up, I mean, back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, you didn't have that so much, although maybe you did, it just wasn't so prevalent in the news. Nowadays, of course, there's so much pressure in the workplace and in the families as well.
Yeah.
You've got to get everything done super fast, super quick, and it's got to be done to a specific standard as well. There's a lot of pressure, isn't there?
There's a lot of pressure. The introduction of technology, whilst it's a great thing, means that we're now expecting everything instantly. Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure to work very, very hard for a long period of time and not really getting any difference in the reward. And that can put a lot of stress on people. And I think particularly for our most at risk, although this initiative is open to everyone within the company, regardless of what department you're in and where you are, who you are, what you're getting paid, where you work. There's a lot of pressure, particularly on our guys out on site, who are sometimes getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go to work because the site is quite far away. They don't get in till late in the evening. A lot of them have quite new families. We've got, a lot of 20-somethings, 30-somethings who are just settling down and just having kids. That can be a lot of stress as well. And sometimes, completely understandably, you don't want to come home and you don't want to burden your loved ones or feel like you're creating a burden. But what that does is just internalises all these emotions, and it can have a real effect on people. So
here we are, we're a year into this initiative. What's the next step? Is there a next step involved in this?
Yeah, so we're looking at sort of different national schemes we can get involved in as well. There's things like Mates in Mind that we're looking at. We're also really hoping to sort of roll out more awareness and take it to the next level. So we've introduced it now, and it's a bit new to everyone, but it's nice now that we've got people joining the company, and it's something that's right at the forefront of their induction papers is, these are your hours, these are your holiday, this is an initiative that you can be involved in. You can have access to a free counsellor if you need one.
That's great news, and it's wonderful to hear too. Now, just as we wrap this up, people are listening to us on the radio this morning thinking, well, that's great for the construction industry, but I'm a hairdresser or something. Maybe they haven't got that sort of backup system within their business or corporation. I mean, there are other places they can go, isn't there?
There are. To seek help. I think it's really important to just talk to someone. there's a little bit of a problem in the UK at the moment where NHS services are really oversubscribed in some areas. So depending on where you live, you could have really easy access to free counselling, or you could be on a waiting list for 6 months. I think the most important thing is that we all start talking about it openly and start to feel a bit more okay with approaching loved ones and friends and saying, actually, I don't feel well. I feel like this, and I felt like this for a while. I know that can be extremely hard. I mean, I'm a very open person and I've always had a really great relationship with my mum in particular, but when I was struggling at university, it took so much to go, this is what's happening, because it's so scary to talk about. And by the time you get to the point where you can talk, sometimes it's been going on for months, years, and you don't know where to start. But I think the important thing is just to start, to sit down with someone and just say, I need a little bit of help.
Okay, that's wonderful. Fran Graham, thank you so much. Training Administration Officer at Walker Construction, for coming in to join us this morning on The Breakfast Show. And may I wish you a very, very happy Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.